What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 275 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for March 6th, 2019. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Bit of a dilemma here today. We have more questions than usual, which is awesome. I thank you guys for that. I appreciate the support of the show. Unfortunately, I have to go in the next 20 to 30 to 40 minutes. I'm not exactly sure. I do have to get going at least in the next 35 minutes or so. So I have to rush this episode more than I would like, just because we have so many questions. I want to answer each one in depth as I usually do. Unfortunately, I can't afford to do that today, but as always, I will get through every question nonetheless. We never skip a question that I have here in the document unless I forget, which is always my fault, so I apologize for that in advance if I do that. But that's usually once in a blue moon. We are getting through every single question that you guys sent in here for today's show. But before we get started, as always, if you guys want to send in a question to the show for me here to answer, be sure to tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comments section of this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So without further ado, let's get started here, folks. Captain Sunshine from YouTube, their question was, I'm not sure what the hell the Roman's leukemia is a work bro crowd are trying to accomplish. Like, do they want the credibility of cancer to be validated? Roman Reigns isn't making leukemia look strong, etc. So kind of a joke question here, but no, they're absolutely right. The whole fucking, Roman's leukemia is a work, like, this is a joke, like, how could he be back so soon? I talked about it last week here on the show, so check out my full comments on it. There was a leukemia, Twitter account having to do with leukemia or cancer awareness. I forgot what the exact name of the account was, but they put together this very well-worded thread, and they should have been a lot harsher than they were towards these people who think, the leukemia is a work, bro, which it obviously is not. Go fuck yourself if you think it is. But you don't have to lose hair. You don't have to look sickly in order to be sick. Appearance isn't everything, especially in this case. Just because they still have hair doesn't mean they were never sick. Doesn't mean they didn't go through the treatments. So anyone who still believes that can go fuck off. The next few questions, I wrote down Captain Sunshine for these two. I believe these were from Elena the Wise, so I apologize if I got that wrong. Their first question was, what was up with WWE's production this week? I watched Raw at a friend's house with her boyfriend who never watched WWE before, and his big takeaway was the strangeness that the show blatantly wasted as much time as possible, then immediately threw it to a commercial as soon as anything started happening. As soon as a match starts, commercial break. The break ends, and we're watching rest holds. Watching rest holds. The match picks up. The match picks back up, starts getting physical, only for Raw to go back to commercial. Often the same commercials at that. SmackDown even had the same tendency, and it's kind of insane. How much ad revenue does WWE need to extract? This has been a formula with Raw for years. They're trying something new in recent months. Not that this is for the better, but this whole shit where there's a segment going on in the ring and they immediately cut to the next thing, thinking this is must-see TV. I'm not exactly sure what that's trying to accomplish. It just feels forced and it feels weird, and it's a very awkward segue. Excuse me, I'm still trying to get over the sickness from 2 or 3 weeks ago. But this whole formula with Raw where it, as Raw rolls on, as soon as someone goes to the fucking outside or the match starts, they put a minute into the matchup, they go a minute into the matchup, and then out of nowhere, they just go to commercial. Either out of nowhere or someone gets sent to the outside of the ring and they go to commercial. It happens every fucking time. Raw does it, SmackDown does it. You never see that type of shit in NXT for the most part, or 205 Live. It's almost always Raw and SmackDown, the two most produced shows, so to speak, under the WWE umbrella. I fucking hate it. You are absolutely right. It is so difficult to get invested in the action if all they keep doing is going back to commercials. I'm not saying don't do commercials. Obviously, as a television show, they need to do commercials. There's going to be a lot of commercials, but there's a way to do it where it doesn't interrupt the match every fucking 5 seconds. They did it during that 6-man tag team match on Raw this week, and I could not give two shits about the match as a result, because they kept on going to commercial every 2 or 3 minutes, and it was fucking boring up until the last 2 minutes before the match ended. So, yeah, the formula needs to stop. I'm sure that's a Vince call, a Kevin Dunn thing. Kevin Dunn may have a lot to do with that as well, considering he's head of production still, I believe. But yeah, I hate that formula too. And if someone else who doesn't watch the product as regularly as we do is noticing the same thing and that's hindering their experience of the show, then that's not good. It's one thing for us to complain about it because we're nitpicky as fans, as hardcore fans of the product. But if a casual fan notices that, it's not going to want to make them go back and watch the show. It's not going to want to make them watch Raw or SmackDown again. They'll be like, this is stupid. I'm not really getting anything out of this. It's not really, like, it feels repetitive. They're not going to want to watch the show. Those are the fans that WWE should be concerned with. And if they're pissing them off, if they're annoying those fans and not giving them any incentive to come back and watch the show, that's a problem. Again, this is nothing new. This has been going on for years. But it's something they need to fucking stop ASAP. I hate comparing everything to the Attitude Era. I hate when people do that, but you would never see that 15, 20, 30 years ago. They never fucking did that shit. And again, it was a different time in TV. It wasn't a 3-hour program, I understand that, but there are ways to structure your show to ensure that the commercials either come before a match or after a match. During a super lengthy match, it's understandable you'd get at least one commercial break. But what I loved about Lucha Underground is that almost every single time they'd have a match, they would wait until after the match was over to do the commercial, unless it was one of those like show-long matches. So I think WWE can learn a lot from shows like from shows like Lucha. I think Impact does the same thing. Ring of Honor does it during the matches too, but most of the time they do it before the matches. Like they do it before the main event. And again, that's an hour-long show. Impact's 2 hours. Lucha is 1 hour. But WWE can still learn something from them and try to space out their commercials and time them a bit better so it's not hindering the show as much. Their second question. So, there's a lot to say about the Ronda, Becky, Charlotte storyline, but I just want to take a moment to appreciate the maze WWE took to get us to the WrestleMania match. Remember how I watched Raw with someone who had never watched WWE before? Well, try recapping this storyline to a newbie, including the parts where 4 general managers got involved, Stephanie McMahon and Triple H starting feuds with Becky only to get her to apologize to set up Vince McMahon suspending her and replacing her with Charlotte, and the part where Ronda appeared to vacate the title because Stephanie refused to reverse the suspension she didn't make, only for Stephanie to unsuspend Becky anyway when she announced Ronda did vacate the title, only for Ronda to declare she didn't, so Stephanie could nonchalantly give her the title back. Yeah, that's a fucking clusterfuck. What a mess. What a mess. This whole storyline started out so promising. All you had to do was have Becky Lynch win the Royal Rumble and declare she was facing Ronda for the title at WrestleMania. Even if they wanted to get Charlotte involved, there's better ways to accomplish that than going through this complicated fucking super confusing route that just messes with everybody's heads. I'm still looking forward to the match, don't get me wrong. I still hope in main events WrestleMania. But this convoluted route they're taking to get from point A to point B is so fucking unnecessary. It's like WWE puts themselves in a position to make things way more difficult than they actually are, when the answer to the question is just a fucking easy yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's always that student in class that tries to overcomplicate things and try to take this, like, huge-ass formula to understand what's going on, whereas the real answer, the real solution, is just very simple. It's like X plus Y equals A. Not this whole fucking E squared shit. Like, I know that's very confusing as well. I'm kind of copying WWE in that sense here, but with my reply to your question. But yeah, the fucking build-up with this shit and with Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte, it's so confusing. Becky won the Rumble, ergo, she gets a title shot at WrestleMania. What's this whole shit with arresting her, suspending her, firing her, she's back on, she's... whatever. It's so confusing. It is so confusing. I can see why anyone who does not watch the product as closely, pay attention to the product as closely and as much as we do, would get confused and be annoyed by this. I'm pissed off by it, but other people who don't watch the show, who try to follow this shit, imagine them trying to, recap all this shit in the video package before the match. I'd lose my fucking mind. I'd lose my mind. So, again, I've said this before, but, Becky Lynch won the Rumble. Why is she facing Charlotte to earn her spot back in the match? Did winning the Rumble mean anything? Can't she pull a Randy Orton in an attempt to sue the company for not giving her what she was legally obligated to get? legally, required and was promised to get at WrestleMania, a Raw Women's Championship match. This whole thing with Charlotte, who did nothing to earn her spot in the match, I realize that. I know she's a heel, but she has not won a match on pay-per-view, aside from Super Showdown by DQ, since SummerSlam in fucking August. So why is Charlotte in the WrestleMania main event? If Charlotte beat Becky to earn her way into the match, that would make sense. I would almost understand that. But Becky's beating Charlotte to get her spot back in the match. How much fucking sense does that make? Because Charlotte's not winning on Sunday, nor should she win at WrestleMania. So what the fuck does any of this accomplish? I don't understand. I really don't. It's so confusing. Elena's third question here. Excuse me. Triple H is admittedly pretty good at the whole "this is personal" promo, so the delivery of his promo on Raw is pretty good. That said, it still reeks of everything wrong with WWE's relationship with WrestleMania and kayfabe as a whole. Ronda Rousey's on Twitter calling Becky Lynch by her real name and getting slagged for it, so why should Triple H go on the flagship show and do the same "everything else is fake, but this part is real"? Work shoot nonsense from the worst part of the 90s to use a 70-year-old's reputation to bolster a match between two part-timers that's probably going to hog up a half an hour of WrestleMania 2. So like I've said before, the Triple H Batista match, I'm actually looking forward to it. I like the idea of a match between the two. Triple H did allude to the fact that Batista has been crying online for 2 years now to get a match with him at WrestleMania. I think that's great. If you want to go down that route and have Batista come out acting like an asshole, saying I was too busy in Hollywood to come back, kind of playing the Hollywood rock role from 2003, I think that's awesome. If they want to tie Ric Flair into it, that's fine. Having Triple H talk about his, deep relationship with Ric Flair, I thought kind of was a little long in the tooth. They kind of dragged that on for a bit longer than they needed to. But I see the connection there. Ric Flair was there when they teased tension back at SmackDown 1000. So it made sense. I was completely fine with them bringing up the Ric Flair thing. What I did not like about the promo on Monday was the fact, as you said, he essentially alluded to how everything else in the show is fake, but this part is real. It's not, Ric Flair. It's Richard Flair. Richard Flair, or whatever Ric Flair's actual name is. And alluding to the fact that it's not going to be the character facing your WrestleMania Batista. Oh no, it's going to be the man. I was waiting for him to say Paul Levesque. I'm like, dude, you gotta fucking stop. I know he has a lot of power in this company and he can really do whatever he wants. But between this, the Ronda Rousey thing, and don't get me wrong, the Ronda Rousey-Becky Lynch exchange on Twitter I thought was great. And even if you call someone by their real name, whatever, they've done that before. I can't shit on that too much. CM Punk did it one time and we all creamed our pants. We all creamed our pants, but I think if you do that once in a while, it can pack a punch. You can't do it every week. Ronda did it. Triple H is doing it. They need to stop. I don't know if this is a new directive by the company to start breaking the fourth wall more, but it feels forced and it feels fake. It's not genuine. It's not authentic. They did the exact same thing later on in the show to a lesser extent, to a lesser degree, but they did it with the SNL guys. With one of them saying to Braun Strowman, "Is any of this even real anyway?" Before Braun put him up on the wall for 5 minutes when they went to commercial, which was weird. But, yeah, so I don't know what the fuck they're doing right now. I don't know if this is a part of some grandmaster plan to start breaking the fourth wall more and making things feel more real. But I'm not a fan of it at all. I think it just does not ring true. It feels forced. It does not have the same feel that it did a few years ago. And again, you could do it in certain spots. But Ronda Rousey calling Becky Lynch's armbar fake and that it doesn't hurt, I would not exactly go that far. Because Ronda Rousey's armbar, despite being an actual MMA fighter, also looks like shit more often than not too. I don't know what happened to it. It looked good when she first came into the company. She then made some slight tweaks to it, but now it looks like shit and that it doesn't hurt. People like Alexis would ask me, "Oh, does the armbar hurt?" Because it doesn't look like it. So if anyone should be talking, it's Becky Lynch about Ronda Rousey's armbar. But anyway. Back to your original point, I just did not like that. I like the promo overall. I like the intensity that Triple H showed. I don't like when they do this whole, this is Paul Levesque talking to Dave Batista, you piece of shit. Everything else is fake, but I'm real. This is the same dude on his fucking Twitter account who says he plays a bad guy on TV. Again, nothing new. I don't want to complain about it now. It's been that way for years, as far as I understand, which is so stupid. Which is also inaccurate now because he plays a good guy now, apparently. He's a babyface going into WrestleMania for the match against Batista. But I hate when they do that. They're basically throwing it in your face that, hey, what you're watching is completely scripted. Do they do that on other shows? Like, I don't watch too much TV, but are they starting to do that on other shows nowadays? Like, I don't know. I mean, I just want to suspend my disbelief for fucking 3 hours. Just let me do that. Coming outright and saying this is fake and only this one part is real. Like, if you want to keep people guessing, like, is this real? Is it scripted? Whatever, you can do that. But they're not doing that with this. That's showing, not telling. This is absolutely telling. They're outright saying to you, hey, this is all scripted. This is all fake. So fuck you for believing that it is real. You know what I mean? So I'm not a fan of that. I hope they can get that shit out of their program. It's been happening a lot in the last week or two. They need to stop. They need to stop and find better ways to build interest in their storylines. Because if they have to go that low, like Vince Russo did in the 90s, I'm not going to say they're going to shut down the company or anything. But that's pretty desperate, and that's pretty sad. If they have to stoop that low to go so far as to say, hey, this is fake, and kind of promote the fact that, hey, this is all scripted, and we're gonna shoot from the hip, brother. Like, that to me is not, doesn't want to make me watch the show, and I feel other people are of the same mindset. Moving right into the Facebook questions now from Akil. I don't know if I pronounced that right, so if I didn't, I apologize. Akil S. from Facebook. Is Seth Rollins going to beat Brock Lesnar? Is Roman Reigns going to turn heel? What's next for the Shield? So a 3-part question here. I honestly don't know if Rollins will beat Brock. If Kofi gets the title shot at WrestleMania, I see him winning. If Becky gets the title shot at WrestleMania, which she will, I see her winning. Would they really do the hat trick and have Rollins beat Brock too? I think it'd be a mistake if they didn't. They did the whole Brock wins, LOL, finish last year. It'd be absolutely beyond ridiculous to do it again for the second straight year when the belt should not have been on Brock in the first place, been back on Brock, let alone during his first Universal title reign 2 years ago. It's Rollins' time. Don't hinder the momentum. Just give him the fucking title. Let's move on. I'm so done with this shit. Let's keep the belt on Brock till SummerSlam. Like, it doesn't accomplish anything. It just hurts the show more. Put the belt on Rollins and be done with it. Your second question, will Roman go heel? I don't think so. People saying now, oh, this is the perfect time. Rollins went heel during the first Shield breakup, then Ambrose. Now it's Roman's turn. How dumb would that be? They finally have Roman getting cheered genuinely. And it might be the honeymoon phase, I'll give you that, but he's still getting cheered a lot. Overwhelmingly cheered. The last 2 weeks on Raw. Why squander that by turning him heel? They missed that boat 4 or 5 years ago. They won't do it now. They didn't do it then. They won't do it now. They didn't do it in 2015 or 2016 or 2017 or even 2018. I don't think they'll do it in 2019, but that's my opinion. And what's next for the Shield? My guess is that Ambrose goes heel again on Sunday and they build to a Roman Ambrose match at WrestleMania. Because if not, what else do you do with Roman? Roman and Corbin? Pfft, I heard that rumor. I have no interest in that. Reigns and Corbin? Absolutely not. Reigns and Lashley, been there, done that. I think Lashley's going after the IC title again anyway. Reigns and McIntyre might be a money match to do at WrestleMania. I don't know why they would do it, though. I know they're feuding right now, so it feels a bit random. But I don't know. It wouldn't feel as random if they did it at WrestleMania. I understand that. But I know McIntyre would lose, so I don't really want to see that. I think Reigns and Ambrose just makes the most sense. They can promote this as the last ride for the Shield, and then they can have Ambrose go heel again to make sense of the fact that they reunited in one night, completely putting aside all the differences they had 4 or 5 months ago, and now they're back together just in one night, within the matter of hours. They made up, they kissed and made up, and now they're the Shield again. That's a bit, that's a bit sketchy to me personally. I'm a little skeptical of this reunion, so I think Ambrose goes heel, thus setting up Ambrose and Reigns at WrestleMania. I know Ambrose has been a loser for months now. It wouldn't mean a lot, but it's a better match for Roman than having him face fucking Baron Corbin. And it would be a good way to send off Dean Ambrose if he is indeed on his way out after April. Stephen J. from Facebook, his question was, why can't they just do Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch at WrestleMania? Have Charlotte and Asuka in a rematch or a triple threat with Naomi? I've been asking the same question for months. I don't know. Because Charlotte is like their queen bee, which is great. I mean, Charlotte Flair, I'm a big fan of hers, but they just don't need her in the match because I think Ronda and Becky sells itself. I'm sure they know that too. And Alexis was even asking me last night during SmackDown, why does Charlotte have to be in the main event? Is she threatening to walk out? Is Ric Flair backstage saying, hey, put her in the main event? I don't think it's either of those things. I think it's just they see Flair as their top women's wrestler, which is great, but she doesn't have to be involved in the first time ever everything. The first ever women's pay-per-view main event at Hell in a Cell, that's great. The first ever women's Iron Man match on the main roster, that's great. You don't have to have her in the main event if it doesn't make sense. They could have done Charlotte and Rousey. That was the plan a year ago. Obviously, plans changed when Becky got hurt. She got hot. So why include Charlotte? I know it makes sense from a storyline standpoint because Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte have all had bad blood dating back to like the summer. I just am still not a fan of doing that match at WrestleMania. Maybe on the next show after WrestleMania, but I think the first ever women's main event at Mania should be a one-on-one match. But that's my opinion. I do think Charlotte and Asuka would make more sense. They have unfinished business from last year. Charlotte has yet to regain the SmackDown Women's title since Hell in a Cell when she dropped it to Becky. And Asuka can get her win back over Charlotte from last year. The three-way with Naomi, I'm the whole multi-match thing, I'm not a big fan of. Naomi can be in the Battle Royal for all I care. She won it last year. Nothing came of it, but whatever. Naomi lost in fucking 45 seconds to Mandy Rose on SmackDown this week. I don't think she's going for the title at WrestleMania. His second question, why is that idiot Baron Corbin still relevant? He is boring. Because apparently the company sees a lot in Baron Corbin. I like Baron Corbin. I'm not as big of a fan of him now as I was a few years ago because he just bores me to tears at this point. But yeah, they see something in Baron Corbin as like the top heel, which is why it's rumored he might be facing Reigns at WrestleMania, which is a huge mistake because the match would be fucking terrible. We've seen it before. I have no desire to see it again. Deshaun K from Facebook, his first question, or only question was here. Oh no, he's got two questions. Yeah, his first question was, let's say Seth Rollins suffers a severe injury and Roman Reigns happens to replace him to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Will a severe injury to one of their top stars be enough for WWE to realize that having a pay-per-view 3 weeks before WrestleMania is unnecessary? And would the fans accept Roman beating Brock despite the fact that he's in remission from leukemia? So they should have already realized this. I'm sure that's happened before where someone gets hurt before Mania, but never to one of their top stars. Like that hasn't happened in recent memory. So I don't know if that would change their business plan. They'd probably still go ahead with doing the 2 pay-per-views before Mania anyway. They shouldn't have any pay-per-views before WrestleMania, let alone 3 weeks before Mania. Like I've said before, they're pay-per-view hungry, and I get that, but Fastlane, Elimination Chamber, but especially Fastlane, are beyond pointless. They serve no purpose whatsoever. So yeah, maybe Rollins getting hurt severely and putting him out of WrestleMania would wake them up and make them realize, hey, maybe we should not have had this show. So would fans accept Roman for the second part of your question if he faced Brock and beat Brock for the title at WrestleMania? No, absolutely not, just because he had cancer. I said this last week on Wrestle Rant Radio. The clip is on the channel. But if they go back to booking Roman as the same babyface that he was before, he can be a babyface, he should be a babyface. But if they book him the same way they did before, it's going to fail and people will boo him. So that would be a mistake. Absolutely not should they go back to booking him the same way they did a few years ago, or even before he got sick, because he'll just go back to being booed. So no, they would not accept Roman beating Brock, as we've been there, we've done that. I have no desire to see that match ever, ever again. Roman and Brock for the third time at WrestleMania? Fuck off. Absolutely not. I don't care what Roman recovered from. If that was the case, I would not be booing Roman. I would be booing Creative. And I'm sure other people would feel the same way. His second question, what's your opinion on the WWE Championship match being a fatal 4-way between Kofi Kingston, Mustafa Ali, Kevin Owens, and Daniel Bryan, along with some of the other championship matches that may have multi-man stipulations? So for that match, I'm sure it'd be great in the ring. Again, if they do a 3-way with the women, they should not do another multi-man match for one of their marquee matches. If they want to do it like one for the IC or US title, that's fine. But for the WWE Championship, if we're already getting a 3-way for the women's title on the Raw side, that to me just, I'm not a fan of that at all. I'm really not. So, I would just keep it Kofi and Bryan one-on-one, because that's the match that makes the most sense. Owens can face a returning Sami Zayn if Sami comes back on Sunday and costs him the championship. Mustafa, I don't know what you do with him. Maybe Ali and Joe at WrestleMania if Joe doesn't face John Cena. I'd be a fan of that. Yeah, 4-way, I'm sure it'd be great, but I'm just not a fan of 4-ways and 3-ways and all this other multi-man shit at WrestleMania. We've seen it before, especially with Daniel Bryan. We've seen it, 5 years ago, WrestleMania 30. It's especially when you're already doing a three-way with the women in the main event likely, that just screams WrestleMania 2000 all over again to me. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine, his question was, in your 10-plus years of watching wrestling, have any WWE tag team titles meant less than the Raw ones currently do? Seriously, why even have the things if the champions mean so little? I could not tell you. I know there have been times where their tag team division was just fucking like, they were never even on the show. So yeah, I do know of other points where it was worse, but that's not saying much. That's not to glorify the current tag team division in either show. SmackDown's doing better. They have some teams. They have the Bar. They have the New Day. They have the Hardy Boys back now. Sanity and Gallows and Anderson are doing nothing, but they're there if they want to use them. Nakamura and Rusev are a thing. Black and Ricochet are apparently a tag team now. They have, what was the other tag team? The Usos, obviously. Miz and Sheamus are only temporary, but SmackDown has a lot of good tag teams. Raw has the Revival, and everyone else is fucking losers. Everyone else are a bunch of losers. So, oh, you said the Raw ones. You didn't say SmackDown. I'm sorry. You said the Raw tag team titles mean very little right now. Yeah, again, I could think of other points. Like they had, I think it was McIntyre and Cody Rhodes were the tag team champions at one point, back in 2010 maybe. Barely ever even on the show. Ever. You would forget we even had tag team titles. And that's kind of the case with the current tag team champions too. At least the Revival are on the show. When Rude and Gable were tag team champions, they weren't really on the show. So yeah, the titles meant jack shit back then. They probably mean just as much now. The current ones mean maybe slightly more. But the fact of the matter is, the tag team titles mean absolutely nothing. The Revival won them, and they went right back to losing. Straight back to being jobbers. So they need to fix that shit fast, because it's dying a death. I would say it's already died. It's already died 10 deaths. Those Raw tag team titles mean nothing. His second question, is it just me, or has the build for every WrestleMania since 30 felt very lackluster overall, outside of one or two matches, that is? Is it just a coincidence that WrestleMania 30 was the first one of the WWE Network era, hence the lack of build? Or am I just being too cynical? That's actually an excellent point. That is actually a great, great point. I feel like the overall build for pay-per-views has really been lacking over the last 5 years because of the network. Because they know people have the network, so why should we bother selling people on the network if they already have it? It's not like they're going out of their way to buy the pay-per-view. Which is a dumb mindset to have. I could see why they'd be thinking that, but they should be putting an equal amount of effort into every show they have. Therefore, meaning like a lot of effort, not just, an equal amount of minimal effort, but like maximum effort to make these shows mean as much as they do. That's why the pay-per-view's been, by and large, been just terrible for the last 5 years. At least if Raw sucked, we can count on the pay-per-views to be good. No, the pay-per-views have sucked too, because the build has been terrible. I'm sure the network has a lot to do with that. I forgot this has been discussed before, maybe a few years ago. I don't know if it was a quote from like Triple H or Vince or someone like that. But someone said like, yeah, the network pay-per-views, they have very little build because they see no value in pay-per-view. Now it's more about TV ratings, which is terrible, but I guess that's just how it is in this company currently. I would not say the build for every Mania has been terrible. I mean, it's really been lackluster overall. This year, definitely. Last year, definitely. 33 I was at, so I remember being more excited for it, but I can't say the road to WrestleMania was amazing. 32, I don't really remember. 31 had its points where I was like, oh, this isn't good. 30, same thing. It's not just since the network, because I remember the road to WrestleMania 29 was like one of the worst I'd ever seen. It was fucking terrible. It was awful. Like, the show sucked, but the build was terrible, too. So it's not just since the network, because 29 had a terrible build, and at least in my opinion. Maybe you think differently. But I do think the network has a lot to do with it, because now they have an excuse to not put effort into building up the shows, because they know most people already have it. John's third question. So Tori Wilson is going into the Hall of Fame, but Victoria, Molly Holly, Luna Vachon, Miss Elizabeth, and others can't. I have nothing against Tori, but why ever above so many others who deserve it more? I don't know. I really don't. Maybe because Tori Wilson. I don't want to say it's because she's a bigger name. I think more people know Tori Wilson than Molly Holly. That hasn't stopped them from inducting other women in the past. So I don't know. I really don't. They've inducted a lot of women who really, like Beth Phoenix, I think, is a Hall of Famer, but why induct her now? She just retired 4 or 5 years ago. Miss Elizabeth, there's something going on there. I don't know why she's not in. I know it's because she's since passed on. Luna Vachon, same thing, and they can't induct too many dead people in one class. That's like a directive of theirs for some stupid reason. Maybe to make it less depressing, I don't know. Vachon, Elizabeth, it's probably because they're dead. Maybe at some point they'll get them in. Victoria, I have no idea. She really should have been in there a while ago. Molly Holly, I'm shocked she's not in. Because she's appeared with the company, for the company, multiple times in recent years. I don't know why she's not in. I know Tori's made multiple appearances too for WWE, but excuse me, but she accomplished nothing. Oh, she had the feud with Dawn Marie back in 03 on SmackDown. Oh, she was just tits and ass. Name me one Tori Wilson match that was good. Exactly. It's not that she just didn't win any titles, because there was a lot of people who never won any championships. That's not really an excuse. But she was never really that good. She was never really that good. She was like one of the faces of SmackDown for the women, but they didn't really have any women. They didn't really have any choice but to promote her. So yeah, she was hot back in the day, but like, is she really worthy of getting inducted? Absolutely not. So yeah, I think that's a joke. At Jeremy8911, I do got to get going the next couple minutes, so I got to rush through these next few questions. There's a lot of questions, so I apologize in advance. His question was, did the Hardys from 1999 come out of a time machine and arrive on SmackDown? Yeah, I guess so. Matt was wearing his old 90s garb, Team Extreme attire. I know he wore it on a recent YouTube video, and then he pulled it out on SmackDown this week. That surprised the hell out of me. I don't know if he's going to be wearing that like regularly going forward, but I thought that was funny. I'm like, holy shit, and he still looks pretty good for his age too. That's crazy. Still in very good shape. His second question, who could you see Finn Balor defending the Intercontinental title against at WrestleMania? If not Bobby Lashley, like Ricochet would be fucking cool. I could see maybe Elias. I feel like we've seen Balor and Elias before, like a few years ago, but maybe Balor and Elias would make sense if Balor doesn't fit. Like Balor and McIntyre would be cool, but I feel like we've seen the match enough where, I'm all set. But yeah, Balor and Lashley, if not like a multi-man match of some kind. Or Balor and Ricochet, like I said, which would be fucking awesome. Do you think this recent tag team push with Ricochet and Aleister Black was meant for DIY if Tommaso Ciampa wasn't hurt? Yeah, it was announced today that he has to undergo neck surgery, so that sucks. But no, I think both teams would have been pushed. I think the original plan, dating back a few weeks, was to do DIY, the Revival, Black and Ricochet, and Rude and Gable. I almost said Good. Yeah, Rude and Gable at Fastlane. So it just would have been a 4-way instead of a 3-way. I don't think either team's going to win anyway. The belt should stay on Revival for the foreseeable future. But no, I think DIY would have been included in the build, but they would not have been getting the push instead of Ricochet and Black. I think Ricochet and Black would have been pushed anyway in the tag team division. The next question, also from Jeremy, do you think WWE should just should have just had Becky and Charlotte do a double elimination at the Royal Rumble to lead up to the triple threat at WrestleMania? Yeah, if they were going to do a triple threat, I guess that's one way to do it. I really would have rather had Charlotte beating Becky at Fastlane, because Charlotte needs a win. She really does. I know she's established and all, but she needs a win. And I don't want her winning at WrestleMania. The whole double elimination thing, we've seen it back in 93, was it? 93, 94? We saw it in 2005 before it was reversed. I know it's been a long time, but I'm not a big fan of that. I think it would have been a massive letdown. But I think that if you still are going to do the triple threat, if we have to have a triple threat, then having Charlotte beat Becky at Fastlane to earn her opportunity in the match would have made more sense, because it gives Charlotte a victory. Becky doesn't really lose much, and then Becky can win at WrestleMania. So that's what I would have done, but that's not a terrible idea either. That would have been infinitely better than what we've been getting since the Rumble, which has been mass confusion. At BrettBullet10 from Twitter, is Oney Lorcan one of the most underappreciated wrestlers on the WWE roster? And would you like to see him have a series of matches with Cesaro? He's got to be one of the most underappreciated wrestlers in all of WWE. I wrote an article about him a couple of years ago, I think for Hidden Remote, saying how underutilized and how underrated he is, because the guy is great. The only issue with Lorcan is that he's really not that charismatic. Like, he's not a guy that I would put, like, even a mid-card title on, because he's great. Excuse me. He's an awesome wrestler, but as, like, a performer, I've never heard the guy speak in my life. Maybe once or twice on TV, but that's about it. He's just not a guy you build around. But I would love to see him go to WrestleMania and win the Cruiserweight Championship. He just beat Humberto Carrillo on 205 Live this week. I don't know if he's going all the way to WrestleMania, but I think it'd be pretty cool. The matches with Cesaro It'd be like that Spider-Man meme where they're like pointing at each other. It's like two Spider-Mans pointing at each other, like the end credit scene from Into the Spider-Verse, because they look so much alike. Excuse me. But the matches would be absolutely amazing, no doubt. At Scarlet1 from Twitter, thoughts on the Shield reuniting and Roman's acknowledgement that Dean Ambrose might be leaving soon, being used as the reason why he and Seth are willing to forgive Dean's heel turn. So the Shield reuniting, I just hate the fact that they're back together so soon, or at least at a rushed pace. Like, I'm glad the Shield's back. It's cool. I feel like it lost a little bit of its luster because they broke up only a few months ago and are back so soon. But it's way too rushed. And I know they had no choice. Roman only just announced the other day that he was coming back. He was returning to the ring. I get it. But at the same time, they should have given it more time. Like, imagine if they rushed the Dean Ambrose-Rollins rekindling of their friendship, and they were feuding for fucking years. It had been years since Dean and Seth feuded, but they still were hesitant to team up back in the summer of 2017. It took them like a month and a half to finally get back on the same page. With the Shield now, Dean and Seth just got done feuding a month or two ago, and they're already back to being best friends. So I hate the rushed booking, but it would make sense. They can make sense out of all of this. If they have Dean cost the Shield a match on Sunday and feud with Roman going into WrestleMania, that to me would make the most sense. And then Dean can say, I was overshadowed before, I'm overshadowed now that you're back, I'm on my way out. Them acknowledging that the Ambrose might be leaving was interesting because they want to make you think that, he might re-sign or that the Shield might stick around, or really to make the Shield run impactful because it might be the last one we ever see in WWE, if not for just a long time. But I do think that it is leading to a Dean heel turn, another Dean heel turn on Sunday to kind of make Roman think, oh shit, I should not have forgiven him. And they rushed this whole thing within a matter of hours, in the matter of a week. So that's what I want to see. That's the only way they can really make up for the fact of how illogical it is that they're already back on the same page. Oh, Dean's leaving, so let's get back together. What? Like, why would Dean want to team up with them after all the shit that he talked about them a few months ago? Makes very little sense. Thoughts on Samoa Joe winning the United States Championship? I thought it was awesome. Finally, Joe has gold around his waist in WWE. Took 2 years, but better late than never. I thought it was a cool move. The match was a lot of fun. They worked tremendously together, Joe, Andrade, Rey Mysterio, and even R-Truth. And I would love for Joe to walk into WrestleMania as champion and defend against John Cena. I think that'd be awesome. So that's my hope. Especially with R-Truth mentioning John Cena recently. Maybe Joe beats up on Truth and then Cena comes back to save him. I think that'd be pretty fucking cool. So yeah, Joe and Cena for that belt of Mania is the match that I want to see. Do you think the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania will be a singles match? I mentioned this before. I do think it should be and that it will be. I do. I know there's rumors of like Mustafa being involved and Kevin Owens being involved. I don't know what they're doing at WrestleMania. Maybe Owens and Zayn. That's my own speculation. No clue about Mustafa. But I do think that it should be Bryan and Kofi one-on-one. That's the story that makes the most sense. Kofi should beat Bryan clean as a sheet in singles competition. That's the match I want to see. No multi-man bullshit, especially if the main event with the women is already a multi-woman match, especially if that's already a triple threat. Did you hear about Ronda Rousey's Twitter argument with Becky Lynch, which included Ronda breaking kayfabe and Tommy Wiseau joining in? So I already talked about the Twitter feud. I thought it was great up until Ronda Rousey mentioned the fact that Becky's armbar looked fake. I thought that was a bit too far. But Tommy Wiseau joining in because Becky Lynch used a couple gifs from The Room, or should I say The Disaster Artist, the movie that was about the making of The Room. And if you've never seen The Room before, I implore you to do so. It's quite the spectacle, to say the least. It's so fucking bad, it's amazingly terrible. It really is. It's amazingly awful. So watch it. But Tommy Wiseau, who I've been following now for the better part of the past 5 years, because of my roommate in college, who showed me The Room in the first place, is just so great, and I would love to see Wiseau make an appearance of some kind of WrestleMania. If we can get those goofs from SNL on the show at WrestleMania, why not Tommy Wiseau? Oh, hi, Marks. Like, it writes itself. Just have him come out, greet the fans, and just go, oh, hi, Marks. Like, they're already breaking the fourth wall anyway. Why not do it again by having him call all the fans Marks? This shit just writes itself. in their last question, early predictions for the NXT TakeOver New York match card. So, Ciampa's out. Ciampa's out of the picture. He'll be undergoing neck surgery soon. He's off TakeOver. I was texting RJ earlier, what do we do with the NXT title at TakeOver? I figured it would have been Gargano and Ciampa, so that's not happening. It should still be Gargano versus somebody else. A multi-man match would make the most sense. Black and Ricochet, unless they advance all the way to the finals in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, which they shouldn't, I think it should be the Street Profits, to be honest with you. I think it should be Gargano, Black, and Ricochet for the title at TakeOver. Now, the issue with that is that they're already on the main roster. Black and Ricochet are. Gargano was too. I don't know if Ciampa's injury changes things. I don't know. But, yeah, so I would do the three-way. I think, he has history with Ricochet from the last TakeOver. Gargano beat Black back in November. Black beat him back in November. I think it makes sense. I would do the three-way. You can add Adam Cole in there, but I think they teased Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream. So I would do that three-way. Dream and Cole for the North American title. If not, you want to throw... I don't know what you do with Matt Riddle. I don't know where he fits into the card, but those two matches. I would do War Raiders versus Street Profits for the tag titles, personally. Shayna Baszler versus Io Shirai. I would do Dunn and Walter for the NXT UK title. And then to kick off the show, Dominik Dijakovic versus Keith Lee. That is what I would do at TakeOver. From start to finish, I think that match card makes the most sense, and it could be one of the greatest takeovers we've ever seen, which is why I'm so amped to be there in attendance for it. So again, guys, I apologize for running a bit short with today's show, despite the many, many questions you guys sent in, just because I do got to get going in the next few minutes, so I apologize for rushing. But as always, guys, if you want to send in questions to the show, tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So until next week, guys, with episode 276, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome rest of your week, and I'll catch your ass down the road.